My dad was a coach, so a lot of my time was spent playing basketball or watching basketball or thinking about basketball. Dad would put us into certain drills that he knew we wouldn't get hurt in. Non-live drills, passing drills, ball handling drills, to introduce us to the game.
Danny and Bobby were 18 months apart. And everybody in our neighborhood could set their watches by the time they'd hear the ball bouncing, going down after school, and then back up again with an argument always on the way back. And it would be Bobby and Danny.
We'd spend a good 7 or 8 hours working out together, traveling somewhere in the city, trying to find, the best games.
When it was time to go off to college, Bobby Hurley chose Duke. Danny Hurley decided to stay in New Jersey. He signed with Seton Hall. In the spring of 1992, the Blue Devils entered the NCAA tournament as favorites to win their second consecutive national championship, with Bobby, then a junior, at the point. After winning its first 2 games, Duke moved on to the East Regional, where Bobby would face the single opponent who knew him best, and that he knew best.
I was never more nervous. Sweet 16, Philly Spectrum. That was right up there with the worst experiences of my life.
It was a very emotional night. Not only are they on opposite teams, somebody's gonna lose and go home, Danny and Bobby are guarding each other.
That was horrible. Yeah, because you didn't want anyone to lose.
Bobby and Duke defeated Danny and Seton Hall 81-69.
I always forced myself to not like the person I was playing against and competing against. It was impossible to do that with Dan.
The following week, Duke would win the title again. A year later, the Sacramento Kings took Bobby with the 7th pick in the draft. He was a starter from day one. But meanwhile, Danny was struggling at Seton Hall, frustrated especially with the constant comparisons to Bobby.
I was just broken, just a broken person emotionally. The standard that Bob set his whole entire career at Duke, and then being a lottery pick, no one fairly, could live up to it. It was a horrible thing to deal with. I felt in some ways responsible and guilty for it based on, what I had achieved playing. And we were tight and we were like best friends. So to see him feel that way was really hard.
On December 4th, 1993, both Seton Hall and the Kings played at Madison Square Garden. That night, the brothers dined together.
What did you tell Danny at that dinner?
That he should take a step back if that's what he felt he needed. It was important for me, to hear from, my best friend that it was okay to quit, take the year off, and to take care of myself.
So Danny took a leave of absence from the team. 8 days later, on December 12, 1993, the Kings were at home facing the Clippers. Bobby had 7 assists in a 10-point loss. It was his 19th game in the NBA, and when it was over, he got in his truck to drive home.
Basketball star Bobby Hurley remains in a life-threatening condition tonight after an auto accident on Sunday.
Hurley suffered broken ribs on both sides, a ruptured trachea leading to his left lung, 2 collapsed lungs, knee ligament damage, a compression fracture in his back, and a wrist injury.
Going out there to see him in that hospital bed, looking like that was so painful just because I love him so much and just thought that should be me. I knew what it was like to be so close to losing my life, and now that I have it, I just really want to be thankful for that alone. That was the toughest period that I've gone through. My low self-esteem, feeling that, why couldn't that be me who was in the accident? He has so much to live for. I'm just a guy who couldn't even stick out playing the rest of his college season.
After nearly having died, Bobby would make a remarkable recovery and return to the court. Danny recovered too and came back to start for the Pirates as a junior and senior. After college, Danny started climbing the coaching ranks. For years, Bobby resisted going into the profession. But then,
I had always, was asked, when are you going to get into coaching? It had been something that our family had done, and it was the ideal time.
Hey, tap high post. Flare's taken away.
No one had to talk me into Bob.
Perfect your technique. Let's go.
I knew it would be a great way for us to kind of get reconnected, do something special together.
It was 2010. Danny had just been hired at tiny Wagner College on Staten Island. For so long, he'd struggled with the challenges of being Bobby Hurley's little brother. Now, Bobby would be his assistant.
I humbled myself big time. It was his program, and he was the face of the program, so I took a back seat to that.
Let's go.
The way they grew up. The difference of 18 months made the other guy always the experienced veteran, and the other one always had to take the advice. Now it's completely reversed the table.
The Hurley brothers coached together for 3 seasons, partnering as only they could.
Pressure, charge! Yes! No! Oh my God! There's nothing you can do. There's nothing we can do. That is so bad.
And now, 30 years after Danny stepped away from the game with his brother's blessing, to heal himself, he is at its pinnacle.
And we're just blessed that we grew up in Jersey City and found basketball and had a dad that pushed us, and now I get to take my dad to a Final Four.